Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to do a tropical flamingo today with some watercolor. And if we haven't met, I'm Viv with Art with Viv. Thank you for tuning in, and let's just jump right into it. I've already pre-sketched my flamingo out on a 5x7 Fabriano Artistico Extra White watercolor block. It's 5 by 7 inches or 12.5 by 18 centimeters, and it's 140-pound paper on this block. And the first thing I'm doing is I'm just mixing up sort of a mango color, maybe sort of a pinky peachy orangey color. And I'm going to go ahead and apply my first layer onto my flamingo. I want it to be a pale pink. I don't want to go too dark. We're going to build up the layers to get our shadows and things in there. So the first layer, I want it to be really pale and really just a light peachy orangey pink. Now, if you're a member of the Sweet Art Squad, that is my membership. For $5 a month, you will get this video along with the outline drawing, a supply list that tells you the exact colors that I mix to get these colors, a reference photo, and some tips on how to paint this pretty flamingo, this little tropical flamingo. Summer is coming and I might be just jumping the gun because spring hasn't even gotten here, but I'm just in the mood. Now I'm just taking a damp dry brush and pulling up some of that paint, and I'm putting a little extra paint where I want the shadows to be, and I'm lifting where I want the highlights to be. Now I'm mixing a really pale pinky color, and it is corally. It's got a little bit of orange or a little bit of yellow in it, and this one I want to be really pale for my feathers. And we're going to go back in there and darken up the shadows. We're just going to build the layers up as we go, but for this part we are just going to put in a really pale watery wash of this pinky sort of mango-y orangey color. So I'm going to let you watch for just a second and I will return. Now once you let that dry some, I'm going to go ahead and mix up an even darker color. You see I've got some oranges in there and some pink tones, and these are going to be some of my shadows in the feathers, where his feathers are sort of fluffing out. He's preening himself, getting himself all fixed up, probably going on a date. We don't know what this flamingo is going to do, but you know, he's getting himself fancy. And we are going to go ahead and put those shadows in there, and going around where we want our feathers to be really light. Also, I'm taking just a little bit of water and sort of fading it out toward the ends of some of those feathers and some of those shadows. We want it to be darker toward the body of the bird and lighter as it comes out into the light hitting it. So you'll want your darker color sort of next to where the feather is coming out from the body. So you want to think about that. And so I'm just adding the random shadows. As you're doing this, just look at your reference photo, and that will help inform you where to put these shadows. My outline drawing, if you go by it, if you're in the Sweet Art Squad, you will get an outline drawing, you will get a reference photo, the exact colors I mixed, the complete supply list with brushes, colors, all that on there. And it's only $5 a month. It's like the price of a coffee, not even the price of an expensive coffee. So for $5 a month, you get 2 to 4 videos every month, just like this, and you'll get the supply list, the outline drawings, and reference photos. So that's a really good deal. I'll link it below just in case you're interested. But if you are part of that, you will have the outline drawing, and that outline drawing will be more, you'll be able to see where to put the shadows when you put it with the reference. So I'm just going to continue in here, mixing up sort of a darker orange mango-y color and applying those shadows. I'm taking a little bit of water in some areas and just sort of blending the shadows out so that they're darker sort of around the edges of the feathers and lighter toward the center, and also darker toward the bird's body and lighter where the feather grows out into the sun. You'll want it to be just a little bit lighter. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to let you watch. If there's something I think I need to explain, I'll pop back in, but I'll let you enjoy this reggae music I've got going on. Now I do want you to notice that down the center of some of the feathers, you see I'm leaving the white of the paper as sort of the vein. I'm also leaving like the edges of the feathers. I'm not painting all the way up to the edges of all the feathers, so there's sort of like a little white border around some of them. So just be mindful of that. Watch that you're going to leave your veins white, like the white of the paper, and also don't paint all the way up into the edge of the next feather that's laying on top of it. You can leave a little tiny white border of the white of the paper. Later on you can paint over that if you want, but that's what I'm doing here. I'm just slowly building up these feathers by adding shadows. I'm leaving the veins that are going down the center of the feathers white, and I'm also adding a few little feather marks, just a few little lines to indicate that the feathers are sort of fluffy. So I'm going to let you watch again, and I will return shortly. So once you get those few shadows and different areas of the feathers, then I'm going in here with a nice yellow. This flamingo's eye is yellow. It's really kind of a ghostly looking color. If you are part of the Sweet Art Squad and you have the reference photo, then you can look at that and see how that is. It's really ghostly looking to me. Now I'm going in here and I am just going into some Payne's Gray. Or you can use lamp black or whatever that you have. You can mix your own black. I'm just trying to make this quick and easy, so I'm not mixing my own black. I'm just using a nice lamp black, and I'm just painting the black part of the beak, the little black pattern on there. And I'm doing it pretty thick. I don't have a lot of water mixed in there. I want it to be really it's the darkest part of the bird is that tip of his beak, so I want it to be pretty thick. So I didn't add a lot of water. Now I have changed over to a detail brush, and I've gone back into that black, and I just did a little line down there. Now I am mixing a little bit of the eye color with a little bit of the black, and that's going to be my shadow color for the eye. And also you'll want to use black for that pupil. Now I don't know if you know, a lot of people know, some people don't. Did you know flamingos get their color from eating shrimp? And it depends on what kind of shrimp, how much shrimp they eat, how pink they are or how orangey pink they are. So if a flamingo is, I almost said pelican. If a flamingo is sort of not really a deep color pink or a deep color sort of peachy mango color, it could be not getting enough of the right kind of nutrition. So here I just got a really darker orange pink and I painted in that little section at the bottom part of his beak. And now I am just taking that black with a lot of water mix, so it's more of a gray color, and painting in some of those lines and crevices on the flamingo's beak. Now I'm just taking some of that orange, and there's like some texture going away from the flamingo's eye down onto his beak. So I just did some little dots for that. Now I've got some ultramarine blue. I mixed it with a little bit of the pinky color, and I am just adding a shadow to his beak and just around to where there are some shadows on his beak. Now I'm not finished by any means with his beak, but I am just trying to lay that undercolor in there. Now I've got my blue, and I am going on just painting right over top of the feathers with that blue to make those look sort of grayed down. Make sure your feathers are dry before you add the blue. If you add the blue and the pinky peach color is still wet, you're going to get it's not going to be a nice glazing effect. All you're doing here is glazing the blue over that peachy pink. What you need to do is make sure that that peachy pink is completely dry. Use a really light touch, really watery blue, and just sort of glaze over it. And that is some of the shadows and some of this penguin. Oh my goodness. Some of this flamingo's feathers are almost white, but they look grayish blue because they're in shadow. So that's what I'm trying to show here. And I'm just going to add some more of that blue wherever there are some shadows. To add a little bit of texture and a little bit of shadow to his head, I am just going to take some of that blue and mix it straight into that mixture that we used for the color of his head and neck. And that's going to make it a little dark and a little grayed, and that'll be sort of a shadow mixture for the flamingo, aka our penguin. I don't know why I'm calling him a penguin, but he is a flamingo. And now we're doing some shadows, and I'm just doing tiny little brush marks just to add the texture, how the feathers look, on his neck. He's got much shorter feathers on his neck, obviously, than he has on his body. They're a little closer together, so you just get a little texture in there, and that also helps play on the shadows that he has going down his neck. Once you get those shadows in there, just go back and get you some black, and there is a pattern on his beak, and just go ahead and paint directly onto that darker pink orange color that we did on his beak. Make sure it's completely dry, or the black will just fizzle out. It'll just fade and seep into it. So you want that underlayer to be dry before you put the little black marks on there. But be sure to add that pattern on there and break up that edge of the black so that it's not just a hard edge. Now I am getting my white gouache, and I'm just adding a few highlights on his beak. And a few little texture marks, a few little dots for texture down into that deeper, darker pink color. And then also sort of up into the top part of his beak, right near his eyes, just doing little dabs. My lighting is so bright you can't see that I have the under part of that beak is not pure white, so those white dots actually show up better in person. Now we're going to go on to the background. The background is easy. It's just wet and wet. You'll just wet sections, but try to keep all the edges wet so that you don't get hard edges. But wet sections of the paper and with clean water, and then just drop in a deep turquoise or aqua green, a little bit of yellow green in there, and let those blend together. So I'm going to let you watch as I just put in this background. Again, very simple. All you do is wet the paper, wet the background with clean water, and then drop in your darker blue turquoise color and your sort of yellow green color and let them mix on the paper, making sure that you keep those edges wet so that you don't get any hard edges. So I'm going to let you watch, enjoy the music, and I shall return. Now that I've got this background pretty much done, I want to come back and work on this beak, just add a few little details here and there. Again, I've got my white gouache. My lighting is so light you can't see it, but you can actually see in person the dots that I'm putting on that white space in his beak. And I'm adding a few little highlights. Now I'm just making a deeper coral color, and I'm just going to define some of these feathers, just add a few little details here and there, darken up a few shadows, and we will be finished. I'm going to let you watch, and I will return. All right, there we go. We have this beautiful tropical flamingo. You can go back and add deeper shadows if you like, but for now, I think you've done a great job. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit like, leave me a comment. What would you like to see painted next? And don't forget to share this with a friend. I will see you soon.